Not yet. Hey, this is Kat Ramirez. We are live. I am CEO and founder of Adbidtise. We help businesses stand out and grow. I am so thrilled and excited to have my guest today, Dr. Melanie. Dr. Melanie is a CEO of Angelcare Pet Hospital and Pet Resort here in Racine, Wisconsin. And I'm just thrilled to death to have you, Dr. Melanie. How are you doing today?
Hi, Kat. We're doing well.
This is awesome.
Kelly.
Okay. So I just want to let people know before we get into this conversation we're going to have today is if anybody has any questions, please drop a line, leave your comments, because we do want to answer your questions today. I know that a lot of people had asked me to do this, so I'm excited to have a vet on board during this pandemic. And so, Dr. Melanie, first, let me start with, can you tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, and what is the biggest challenge you have today during this pandemic?
So, I have two physical facilities. The name of the business is Angelcare Animal Hospital and Pet Resort. So the animal hospital sees veterinary clients, and so that's where you come if you need regular preventive care or if your animal is sick. And then we have a pet resort where we do training, boarding, grooming, and daycare. And so that's where you go if you have a healthy animal that you need some of those services. We also do a lot of dermatology. That's one of my big passions is veterinary dermatology. I've been practicing that for about 30 years. And the other big passion that I have is dog training and behavior counseling. And because in my prior life, before I was a veterinarian, I was a dog trainer. And I still do a lot of competition work in and Schutzen work.
Okay. And what is the biggest challenge that you guys are encountering right now?
Well, so right now, since we have this pandemic going on, we are now doing drive-through parking lot visits, which all the practices have started to adopt. So basically, you drive into our parking lot, give us a call, let us know you're here. We get all the intake information that we would normally get if we were standing in our waiting room. And then one of the techs will come out and get your animal. And of course, we try to maintain the PPE. And then we bring your pet in and take a look at them and do an exam and decide what's going on and what we need to do to treat them. Then get back in touch with you, go over what we found and what we're going to do. Let you know what the invoice is going to be. You call in your credit card or get a check ready to hand us when we exchange, and then we bring your dog back out and off you go.
Okay, so let me just ask you some questions that I've been asked, and I think that, it'd be great for a vet to address because of the current situation. So I know a lot of pet owners have pets and they think that this whole lockdown means don't go outside. So what is your recommendation? Because I know you can go outside, but some people are just scared. What are your recommendations for taking your dog out and getting exercise? Because, if they're normally taking them to dog parks and what have you.
So I think exercise is very important and critical in the daily life of your dog, and not getting enough exercise or enough human interaction is probably the number one reason dogs get into trouble and develop bad behaviors. So whether we're locked down from COVID or not, you definitely want to be doing this as part of your daily routine. And I think that's one of the positive things actually of this whole pandemic is people are working at home now. The dogs are just loving it if you spend time with them.
Right.
So you can go out and walk your dog, and you can go out at times. You don't all have to go walking together at the same time. You can pick times when you don't see anybody out in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
If you do happen to be coming across another person walking their dog, it's real easy to maintain social distance, because just don't get within a lead's length of the person you're talking to. So,
Right.
and
Right.
ideally don't have your dog nose to nose with the other dog, because that can sometimes create dog fights.
Yep.
So the dog should hang out by your side while you're conversing with your neighbor, and then you go on for your walk. If you're into jogging, it's a great time to jog with your dog. If you like bicycling, you can bicycle with your dog.
Yeah.
There is a really super nice piece of equipment that you can get that goes under the seat of the bicycle. Now I can't remember the name of it.
That's okay. We can follow up and put a link, Dr. Melanie.
But it's a really nice device, because it redirects all the forces. If the dog should lunge or pull or get tangled up in a post, it either has a quick release, or all the forces go down into the center of the bike, so you don't get knocked over, because potentially biking your dog can be kind of a dangerous thing.
Right. Right. Okay. And then, so I know one of my challenges working from home, because I didn't work from home before, is I have 2 pets. And if I'm on calls on Zoom or on the phone, and I don't want to lock my dogs in a closet, like they're just barking if they see somebody outside. And I want to make sure I keep the windows open, just to have that, feeling of that the world's still functioning, we're still alive, and are there any recommendations in entertaining your pets if you are working from home and you don't really want to lock them in a closet,
Yeah, there's all sorts of games you can play with your dog. So one of the things I'm doing right now with this puppy is I'm actually training her right now. And we're working on basic positions. And yes, she's following the cookie. And so one of the things I'm trying to create is a little bit of muscle memory. And then once I've got her doing the different positions, then I will word associate what this position is called in English. So this is a sit. And so I will word associate sit with this position. Then I'll bring her into a stand. And she gets, right? And then we can go into a bow and then a down. And so this is a very easy thing to teach and work on right in your living room. So take a little break from your computer.
Yep.
And if you're doing a Zoom session, you can even do it right while you're multitasking, doing your Zoom. Okay. But what this does is it starts to get the dog engaged with their brain and you. And once you get the dog doing the basic commands, then after you've done that about 50 or 100 repetitions,
yep,
telling her what each position is, and you can test her and actually say it down. You'll see if she understands that what down means, right?
Yep.
And then you can ask her to sit and see if she goes into her sit, and then ask her to go into a stand. So that's how you're gonna evolve and bring this to the next level. So Tilly down. Well, if you need to help her, you can. So she's just kind of starting this. So I don't really expect that she's going to respond yet, but that would be the next step. Sit. So that was good. Right?
Oh, she's a good dog.
Yes, good. And And we want her to learn all these positions while she's not moving all over the room or, doing a dance. And we want her to hold each position so that it's not down and go or sit and go. It's do the position and hold still for a bit. Okay, and then this can then be brought down to the floor. If you've got a big dog, you can get some kind of a foam pad or a dog bed, or a piece of wood, or just even have a smaller space like in front of your couch and chair where the dog can't move around a lot.
Right.
Down on the floor with the dog, or you could be sitting on a couch or a chair doing all of this. So it's very adaptable. You can make it a little harder for the dog and actually work the core body strength. If you put the dog up on a couch, which is now mushy and soft, or a bed, or an air mattress, and have him do all these positions while he's balancing on that soft material. So you're going to find initially they're not going to be so prone to do it, and especially if you have a bigger dog. But in the process of doing all these positions and doing keeping your 4 feet planted, you're actually working the dog's core muscles as well.
Awesome.
Then you're working his brain. And every time you change position relative to the dog, so if you're doing this in front of the dog, on the side of the dog, you go from right to left, if you actually have the dog do it when you're behind him, those are all different positions to the dog. And so suddenly when you say sit and you move from in front of him to behind him, okay, can your dog just sit and stay facing the wall? If he can, and he will, then he really understands that command. If I can say stand from being behind him and he'll stand up facing the wall, then that's kind of the ultimate, right?
Okay.
So that's some real easy stuff. You can do a 10-minute rep, several times a day. You don't even have to leave your desk. But that tires the dog out. And then towards the end of our little session here, I'll put her on the floor and show some other tricks that we can do.
But you, Dr. Miller, you had mentioned to me that if people have crates, you can still crate them while you're working. Like you can create these habits while you're working. Right.
And that's actually something you really want to do, because what's going to happen when we all go back to work, and now the dogs have had, a month or two of having you at home all the time, and teachers a lot of times have this experience because they're off all summer and they get a dog, or they even have an old dog that now gets really used to having them around all the time. Then they go back to work and now the dog's all by himself, and the dog has a major meltdown and they come home to destroy houses, right?
Right.
So if the dog gets used to being in a crate, the crate should always be something he loves and likes. It's his bed. So I recommend feeding dogs in their crate. So I don't feed them out in my kitchen. I actually take their bowl of food and I feed them in the crate. If I'm giving them bones or rides or chews, that's where he gets the chew, is in his crate. And after we come back from a run or a walk, or we've had one of these little training sessions and now they're tired. Now when it's time for me to go back to work, it's time for the dog to take a nap.
Right.
So my dogs are always quite happy to get into their crates. It's their moment for being asleep. Crates are wonderful. If you travel with your dog, you can always take your crate with you. So you go to a hotel, you have the dog's crate, he doesn't destroy the hotel room.
Gotcha.
If you're riding in a car, a crate is excellent, because if you're in a car accident, now the dog is protected. And then you don't have him racing around from the back seat to the front seat,
right,
causing accidents, trying to break through car windows.
Yep.
Open windows. All the things that can happen when you have a loose dog in your car.
Yeah. So you just want to create some good, healthy habits so that they are still going to be able to, what I'm getting from you is you either perform some exercises so it tires them so that while you're working, they're at least sleeping or relaxing, or you do some simple little exercises around your desk, or you create them so that you still can be functioning and you're not chasing your dog.
If they're just crated 8-10 hours a day and you're not interacting with them at all, then they're going to become very disruptive and bark and carry on and dig their roots and, and want to come out, which you would want to come out too. They'll start to exhibit the same kind of stir crazy habits that, people are starting to feel. There's a lot of games you can play with the crate too in your house. So like you can restrain the dog. You can have your crate door open.
Yep.
Stand back 6 feet from the crate, right? Take a cookie, toss it in the crate. You're holding on to your dog before you toss the cookie, right? And you get them all excited. Here's the cookie, here's the cookie. Toss it into the back of the crate. Let the dog go. Tell him go kennel. Okay, so then he'll run in there and get his cookie. Then let him come back out. Do it again. So do that 6 or 8 times. When he's really running into his kennel from a short distance, you make it a little longer distance and make it 10 feet or 12 feet or 20 feet so that you can be at the end of into his crate at the end of the room. Okay?
Bella.
It's quiet. So your dog's barking right now, so I hear her. So
yeah.
So just ignore that for a moment, or you can take the opportunity to actually talk to Bella, or is that Bella barking?
Yes.
So you can say something to her and say, "Speak to me," and then toss her a cookie. So you actually teach her to bark on command.
Gotcha.
Then when she's quiet, tell her quiet, or library voice if you want her to bark softer, right?
Yep.
And you reward that. So you can actually teach them to bark really loud, and you can teach them to bark really slow.
Nice. I like that, Dr. Melanie. I like that.
You can teach them to be silent, and you can put it on some kind of a cute cue so that later on you have cute tricks, right? So like you can use library voice for a soft bark, or, ooh, we're in church, quiet type of thing. What do we do in church?
I like that.
So typically when they start barking at you, it's because they're feeling ignored and they're trying to get your attention. And then when you're yelling at them, quiet, they've gotten exactly what they wanted, was your attention. They have to turn the tables a little bit and let them know that the best way to get your attention is when they're quiet.
Gotcha.
You can be periodically pitching a cookie when they're quiet, and pitch it across the room, pitch it into another room. If they like to play ball or they have a favorite toy, pitch the toy. So you can oftentimes be doing a lot of retrieve work,
right?
Watching TV or playing on your computer. Okay, and they'll figure out how to get you to throw that ball if they like ball playing, right?
Okay, I like that. Those are good tips.
Working on your computer and you're taking too long to throw their ball, and they've brought it and they've thrown it in your lap, right? Then they're going to back off and bark at you, or they might take their leg and hit you, with their paw. Yep. So if you want to teach them a paw trick like shake or whatever, so you just wait till they finally get frustrated enough because you're not throwing their ball, till they hit you with the paw. Right? Then that makes you throw their ball. Yeah. And then when they start repeating that behavior a few times, you start putting that on a shake or paw or high five or whatever you're wanting to teach them. Yep. And when they, do a little bit more, you throw their ball. And so now you've got a new trick you've taught them. Okay. But let the dog start thinking that they're working you, because they actually are all day long. Yeah. Right? They're pushing all of our buttons, usually by doing behaviors we don't like. And so then you get annoyed and then you get angry. Right. So turn around and start responding to behaviors you do like. And what you need to do is reward them with something that they want, like a ball or a treat or a pet, or even just some kind of acknowledgement, because they like being talked to just like you. Right, right. So again, let me just interrupt, Dr. Melanie. You see how This puppy is right now. That was just from all that brain work we had to do a few minutes ago.
So if anybody has any questions, I know there's a lot of people watching. And hey, Stephen, thanks for commenting. Stephen Ross said, I swear my dog is going crazy like anyone else. And if you have any questions for Dr. Melanie, please drop a line. Please leave a comment. She's here live. She's available for any questions that you have in grooming, boarding, any vet, type of questions. So just drop them and she will answer them here. So he does, how about Doc? So it does the same thing. So Stephen said, does the same thing apply for cats or when you're in lockdown?
Yes, you absolutely can train your cats. So there are occasionally cats that are very playful and will play with some toys and stuff, but cats are best motivated through their stomach.
Yep.
So if instead of, in fact, that's a really good point because the biggest problem with cats is obesity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big problem in dogs too, but probably even more so with cats. So instead of leaving your cat's food down all the time,
yep,
you are only going to measure out a half a cup of food a day. If you are feeding them just canned food, you can maybe get some freeze-dried raw meat cat food. That makes a good treat. I like hot dogs, cheese, rotisserie chicken, tuna fish. If you're feeding them kibble, you can actually use their dried kibble, or you can mix it up with some other treats as well. I'd probably stay away from things like the Friskies Tempty treats and some of the other over-the-counter prepared treats. They're very high in carbohydrates, and they're very much like feeding your cat a bunch of donuts.
Okay.
Dogs too as well. But then what you do is you just start rewarding your cat with his kibble, 1 or 2 pieces of kibble a day. And you start looking for whatever behavior you think is cute or fun. So you can teach cats to sit up pretty easily. They can come when they're called. You can teach them all the same basic commands I just taught this dog.
Yep.
So you can just pretend you got a small dog and they will respond the same way. So what we're doing is we're shaping behaviors with positive reinforcement. So that's this training technique. And there are many cats out there that have been trained just as well as dogs.
Okay, so another question, Dr. Melanie, is because we are locked down and locked in, people are overeating. So I know that if people are overeating and they have pets, they're probably going to overfeed their pets or overtreat them. What are your recommendations in regards to your pets and how to be tuned in and aware to this?
So I think whether we're locked down or not, that all pets should actually be fed a specific quantity of food once a day. If you have some kind of a medical reason for needing to feed your pet twice a day, that's okay. But dogs and cats really do fine on once a day feeding. But the best thing is if you measure out, say, your dry food, and say they're going to get 2 cups a day. So you have the 2 cups of food on the counter, and now all day long, whenever you're working them, training them, like I just did with this puppy, you use the kibble. And if their hunger drive isn't very high, that they don't really want the kibble, then you're probably overfeeding the dog or the cat, and they're not very hungry. Because if they're hungry, they're going to be very interested and willing in eating. And if you have a dog or a cat that has a poor appetite and not much food drive, then that's when you want to get other more luscious things. I like the mozzarella cheese sticks. They're wrapped, good for your pockets, not real greasy. Hot dogs, bratwurst, rotisserie chicken. The more difficult the task that you're asking for, the better the treat has to be.
Okay.
So if you're trying to break habits like them barking at people passing by your window, you have to get the dog engaged before he sees the people passing your window. And then the thing that you have, the chicken, you need chicken or hot dogs or something really yummy so that he wants to stick with you and be attentive to you and ignore the people passing the window.
Right.
Because if your treat's boring or if it's just as regular dog food and it's really fun to bark at people outside, they're not going to be interested in engaging with you.
Right. No, that makes total sense. Okay.
Distracting areas, you need better treats.
Okay. And then I know this was my concern. I take my dog out for a walk every day. And for two reasons, it gets me out, I get exercise, and I give the dogs exercise, and they love it. And I wear them out. So by the time I come in, they're tired. So my question is, I should be, and everyone else should be concerned about fleas and heartworm now, right?
Yes. So dogs should be on heartworm prevention once a month.
Yep.
We use milbemycin products here. So those are things like NovaGuard, Interceptor Plus, Sentinel, Spectrum, and Trifexis all have milbemycin in them.
Yep.
The reason I like that product is not only does it prevent heartworm, but it kills rounds, hooks, and whipworms, which are your three main intestinal worms.
Mm-hmm.
And depending upon which of those products I just named off, several of them have something else that can sometimes kill tapeworms, or they might kill fleas. So it just depends upon your individual needs and situation, and that's something we always discuss with clients before we choose which heartworm prevention and which flea and tick prevention is appropriate for them.
Yep.
For fleas and ticks, one of our favorite products right now are the oral products, either Bravecto or Credelio.
Okay.
So Credelio is a monthly product. There's two other ones. One's called NexGuard and one is called Simparica. So those are the three monthly products, and those kill fleas and ticks. And then Bravecto is the only product right now that kills them for 3 months. So this particular works for. And if your dog swims, if it gets bathed, we see a lot of dermatology clients here, and oftentimes their treatment involves bathing once or twice a week. So if you're using one of the topical products, it likely is going to get washed off if you're bathing. Or if you have a dog you're taking swimming, it's going to get washed off when he's swimming all the time. So this you can't wash off. It's in the dog and it stays there either for a month or 3 months. The other nice thing about it is if you've got kids or older people or people that are concerned about toxic product exposure to themselves or family members, okay, if you're putting topical pesticide on your dog, and then now you got to keep the 2-year-old away from the dog for the next few hours until that gets absorbed into their skin. And if not, then the 2-year-old might be getting that on his thumb, and then he goes and sucks his thumb. So if you're using an oral product, you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, great. Those are great tips. And then, so my other question for you, Dr. Melanie, because I saw this in the national news today, and I think it's a great question for you to address as well. Is now a good time to get a pet because you're home and you can potty train and do all that?
Yes, it can be. I think it's a great choice. If in another month or two, when we're able to go back to work, you're going to be able to make time for that pet. Because remember, you're not going to have the pet for just a month. We're not going to be on lockdown for the next year, right? So, my normal life is that I run this practice, I run another business, I'm at work all day. And even though my dogs can oftentimes come to work with me, it's not that I'm able to spend all this undistracted time with my
Right.
dogs, right? They're in a yard or a kennel and I'm seeing patients. But in my normal life, 3 nights a week, I'm at training classes with my dogs. So it's been a little weird having all this free time at night, but you have to, even when you go back to work, you have to be willing to commit time to exercise and train and socialize with your dogs. The dogs can deal very well being home 8-10 hours a day by themselves. If before you go to work and after you get home from work, you have a good hour of exercise and playtime and training time with your dog, that's all about them. And if you do that, then you're going to find a puppy that is doing this instead of looking for trouble.
Yeah. I would have to agree. I mean, because pets are just like children. I mean, if you go on vacation, you have to find a sitter. If just like children, they're, unfortunately, you can't drop kids off at a doggy daycare or a pet resort.
Daycare, you can drop them off at doggy daycare if you've got some problems that have already been established and they're destroying their house, or you're working like some of our medical workers. So right now, for our first line essential workers, we've actually offered a couple of days of free daycare a week if you're in the Racine area. And that's because some of these people are actually working 14, 15-hour days.
Yeah. So let me reiterate that, because I think that's a great program that you guys just launched. So just if anybody is watching or listening and you're in the Racine area and you are an essential worker, Dr. Melanie and her team are offering free daycare for essential workers. And so you just need to reach out and contact her and her team, because they're really trying to support the community and they're trying to help those essential workers that have to go to work. So I love that, Dr. Melanie. That is a fabulous thing that you guys are offering, and I think that's wonderful.
We're on my puppy.
Oh, you put her to sleep. Is there any reminders for Easter? Because Easter's just around the corner.
Yes, that's a good point. And so that's both a positive and a negative. So first of all, if your dogs like chocolate and you have chocolate eggs and chocolate bunnies around, please make sure your dog doesn't get into those.
Yeah.
When I was at an emergency clinic, we pretty routinely got dogs in that had eaten a pound or two of chocolate that they had found on counters or end tables or whatever. Sometimes they were in bowls for people, and sometimes they were just in bags that hadn't been dispersed yet. The dogs help themselves, wrappers and all. If they get into dark chocolate, that can be very toxic. If they get into milk chocolate, depending upon how much they've eaten, it's either going to cause no effect or it might give them an upset tummy. But like we used to have a basset hound that would come into the emergency clinic every holiday, and he would always get into at least a couple pounds of chocolate. So he would make puke.
Oh my God.
And pukey chocolate doesn't smell very good.
Oh, I'm sure.
So anyway, so chocolate. So some of the things like Easter lilies and plants that people oftentimes will get around the holidays, those can be toxic to both dogs and cats. And for the reason, the cats are oftentimes very attracted to those plants. So you want to make sure that they're not nibbling on those plants that you brought in all of a sudden and getting sick from that. Another thing that a lot of times will be in the Easter baskets is plastic eggs that have toys in them and whatever. So those are great foreign bodies. The grass that they eat, that they have in the baskets, usually not, that's plastic grass, not edible. If they eat enough of that, it may not pass. It depends on what else is going on. If they break open one of those plastic eggs and eat some of the plastic, those can be really sharp. So you have a lot of opportunities to get into foreign bodies. So you want to be careful about that.
Okay. That's great advice. We do have a question. Someone asked, is there any way I can get my cat and dog to get along? Do you have any helpful tips on that?
Sure. I guess, can she be a little more specific on how bad the dog?
They said their cat always stalks their dog like a panther stalks a prey. That's exactly what they put. Thanks, Stephen, for the question. They said that. I can just imagine the cat.
And how big is the dog?
I have no idea. If he comments, I'll let you know, but let's just assume it's an average dog. Huh?
Come back to him?
He's listening. He's tuning in. So.
Okay, so if the dog is, I'm thinking the dog might be a small dog if the cat is stalking it. If the cat's actually stalking it, my guess is they're actually playing, and they probably are getting along really well. You just might not like the way they're getting along.
Right. That's their way of playing. Yeah.
Right. So
come here.
you can either separate the two animals, or when they are actually quiet and not stalking each other, you can start rewarding them for that behavior. You can engage the cat in, chasing a feather or a mouse,
right?
Or, some sort of a toy, because apparently the cat's bored too. Get them to retrieve the ball, okay?
Right.
So,
okay.
This isn't a very serious issue. If you've got a dog that's like actually trying to chase after a cat and hurt it, then that's something that you can work on. You have to now have the dog on a leash and start to actually teach the dog how to behave quietly and nicely when the cat's in its presence.
Okay. And we have another question really quick, Dr. Melanie. So we have a question of a cat for what can you do about shedding? Is there anything that can be done?
Yes, I would recommend brushing the cat daily, and I would use a slicker brush. Do we have a slicker brush in here?
Okay.
If we can find ours. So the slicker brush is a wire brush. What about down here? We're looking for our slicker brush.
Oh, okay. Would you recommend any of the products there's products out there? Would you recommend any of those products?
Yeah, it's called a slicker brush.
Oh, I meant like shampoo products that are supposed to do something or whatever.
No, daily brushing is your cheapest, best way to work. Right?
Okay. No, I see. Yep.
And it's I don't know how. So these are there we go.
Oh yeah, no, I can tell. It looks good. Yep.
The wire is bent slightly at an angle, so that does a really good job of pulling hair, all the dead hair out, and it feels good. So if you've got a short-coated dog like this, then you'd want to use something like one of the brushes that they sell for horses. You can get some really nice horse brushes at Farm and Fleet. So I'll use short-coated dogs.
Yep.
You can also get, just regular boar bristle brushes for short-coated dogs as well in the pet section if you don't want to get what's called a horse brush.
Right. Okay. So as we wrap up, Dr. Melanie, so I'm just going to restate some things that you had mentioned. Again, Dr. Melanie with Angelcare Pet Hospital and Pet Resort in Racine, Wisconsin. She is open for business. They are helping with any grooming needs because dogs still need to be groomed, and it's by appointment only. So they're being very secure with how they're managing that. It's by drop off only. They also are still doing pet visits, and those are by appointment as well and drop off as well. And so there's nobody coming into your office. Everything is remote by car as pick up and drop off. And then you guys are also doing Zoom calls with people who don't want to get out, that may be older or can't have the ability to get out, and maybe are preventing themselves from catching anything or being more susceptible.
We have a lot of dermatology clients that oftentimes come from areas that are highly infected. We have quite a few clients who come from Illinois.
Yep.
And I've heard that some of the borders are actually regulating who can cross over, et cetera.
Oh.
So some of those cases are good telemedicine type cases.
Yep.
So people will email or text me photos of their dogs and the lesions, and if it's something that we can treat at least for a short term until we can get you here to the practice, we can oftentimes get some therapy started. And
Yep.
if you're already an existing client, and I've seen you fairly recently, then that's something we can follow up again with telemedicine calls, and then have you get the drugs that you need from our online store, and it gets shipped right to your house.
Yeah, and you are actually having a discounted rate for your telecast, right? Is it $30 or what?
$30 for a consult.
Yeah, so that's a very good deal. If anybody is locked in, you can't go see your vet. Dr. is having the telecast calls, and all the things that she recommends are available on her pet store. So it's not like you can not get these supplies. Right, Dr. Melanie?
Correct.
Okay. And so we'll put the link to your website on all the casts so that people can get a hold of you. Let me pop up your website really quick so people know where you're at. This is Dr. Melanie's website. Do you want to give the URL, your phone number, your email, whatever, Dr. Melanie?
All right. Well, the website is www.angelcarevet.net. Our phone number is 262-886-3337. My cell phone that you can text me on is 262-498-8689. And if you are texting me, please make sure you say who you are and, give me details about your animal, etc. So just realize I'm not going to know who you are if all I see is a phone number.
and then as well as the grooming. What is the
pages? We have the Facebook pages, so
Yep.
people can instant message us through our Angelcare Animal Hospital Facebook to get a hold of me, and they can get a hold of Terry a little quicker through instant messaging on the Angelcare Pet Resort Facebook, as well as the resort phone numbers 262-886-8728. And if you leave a voicemail, people will check that and get back to you. There's usually not somebody right at the phone at the resort because they're out playing with the dogs or bathing or grooming or cleaning or whatever. So
right.
They'll come in and check the voicemail multiple times during the day.
All right. And we forgot to mention that, Dr. Melanie, you actually have a dog training facility that people can book a time if they live in an apartment, if they don't have a space to walk their dogs. You actually have facility that by appointment only.
Right. So what we've done is, we have 3 huge fenced areas. One is the front yard that you see when you drive up to the resort. And that's about a 3/4 acre yard with a 4-foot chain link fence. So that yard's available if you want to reserve it for a half-hour block. And then behind the building, we have a area that is matted with rubber mats and has agility equipment in it. So if you are already involved in agility training or you've done it in the past, So we don't want people using the agility yard unless you know how to use the equipment safely. But once we know that, then that yard's also available for you to rent as half-hour spaces. Right now, while we're shut down, so for the month of April, we're actually offering these yards for free.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
So during normal times, though, those yards are available for a small fee of like, $25 a half hour. But right now they'll be free if people want to come over and exercise their dogs. Only one family at a time.
Yep.
Okay, and we have to know you're coming. And then we also have to know that your dogs are updated on vaccines and have had negative stool samples in the last 6 months, and they've had their heartworm tests and they're on heartworm prevention, because we don't want to share any parasites.
Right.
Share you and your dogs.
Right. Okay. So as we wrap up, Dr. Melanie, anything else that you want to share? People are saying that they love your dog, that your dog looks beautiful and it's very docile, and don't wake up the dog though. You do breed Doberman, so
yes, I do. She has a brother for sale yet.
Yes. Awesome. You can say anything closing as we wrap this up.
Well, I hope everybody stays safe. Remember to wash your paws.
That's cute.
Breaks. Play with your dog. Don't eat too much. Popcorn is a really good treat to teach the dog to catch.
Popcorn, did you say?
Popcorn, yes.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Low calorie, and
yep.
That's one of my favorite foods.
Okay, great.
Don't get too much popcorn because I eat it all.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Melanie, and I appreciate all the information.
All right, thank you.
Have a great day, and if you're watching, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and you have a great day too. Thanks. Right. Bye.